anybody that's been at CNBC for a while, I mean, this is not talking about really a business associate. It's like talking about a friend and almost as close as a family member, because it goes all the way back. That was Jack's idea to outbid Westinghouse to buy Financial News Network back in the early 90s. And there were a lot of people that take credit for owning CNBC now that were wringing their hands and afraid to spend the money. And Jack, I know for a fact, pushed it through and bought it. And that's what I met him in about 1992. And he loved CNBC so much that we all got to be like this with him. We'd be at a function. I remember the first time I was a total nobody, and we were up in Connecticut at the Bridgeport charity function, and he invited me to come and sit at his table because he loved CNBC so much, and that became a really long relationship. That's we were all very close to him. We've dinner at his house many times, the two of us.
When Matt and I got married, he and Susie hosted us at the Red Sox and had like an impromptu engagement party for us.
Golf, knew him on the court. He beat Greg Norman. Not with strokes. Beat Greg Norman. We broke 70 that day.
One thing Warren Buffett always says is that you have to have people that you don't want to disappoint in life, that drives you to be better. Jack was one of those people who you never wanted to disappoint. He was very close, very warm, but also you wanted to make sure you didn't disappoint him as an employee or as a person, to make sure you could live up to the standards that he didn't place on you, but that you put on yourself because you wanted to make sure.
He breathed the GE way into CNBC, too. We had cards initially there. I remember no head fakes, which meant never do anything where if someone found out what you were doing, where you sort of disguise what you're doing. Boundaryless behavior it was another thing. We had a card with 6 tenets on it, and we still had, we took Six Sigma at CNBC, which one mistake in 6 million tries was difficult for a news organization.
Right.
We never really hit that, but I mean, what Jack meant to CNBC and NBC is permeated across the entire landscape.
It's worth also noting so much of what people take for granted about business kind of came from him. The whole be one or two in your industry or get out, and the idea that the core business of GE was kind of good management during his reign. I mean, that really was it. It was a conglomerate, but you kind of had this ethic and discipline that pervaded.
Every component of the company had to be profitable, and running that through. And he had the Jack Welch Management Institute at Strayer University to try and pass that on to
he never stopped.
Current and future generations.
Never stopped trying to help people become better managers and really better people. You'd never know. It's, oh boy, here's an email from Jack, and they'd come in at any time because he was watching CNBC right to the end.
Do you remember when Mark Haines got in trouble?
Yeah. For
a down market day. I wasn't there that day. I've only heard legend about it. You were there. You tell the story.
Mark had, it was a scary day. And, we have middle managers that have one idea, and then we had a guy like Jack Welch. So Mark Haines wore a Red Cross helmet because the futures were down, I don't know, back then, probably 200 points was a lot back then. So we had the middle management type came out, and he was running the place and just reamed Mark Haines, said, get that off. Don't ever put that on again. You're in trouble. Just reaming him. And then there were faxes back then. A fax came in from Jack Welch that said, to this guy, Bruno, said, anyway, Bruno, that was the greatest moment on CNBC, what Mark Haines just did. Keep it up. And just watch it. It's like watching someone that you know is wrong, but you can't say it because you work for him, and then seeing the guy above him do it, the way it played out was amazing. But that was Jack.
Active in everybody's life and active in every aspect of the GE business all the way down. I mean, when you said you were nobody, you met him. I was a nobody, and I met him. And he was so engaging, wanted to know about the business, wanted to know what you were doing on every step of the way, because he just cared that much about every aspect of the business. Knew the numbers better than anybody.
CNBC back then was described as a flea or a speck on the flea on the tail of the dog of the pack that was GE, and he still knew every day to the exact number what the ratings were on every day. It was an amazing, really smart, and also he struggled with some speech issues his entire life too, right up to and became the greatest CEO
And by the way, came to support all of these stuttering galas. There was one that I went to and hosted, and he was there every single time to make sure that other people could look to him as a role model, people who had issues with things like that.
There will be, I guess, a service either Thursday or Friday. The public, if I got that right, the public could attend.
It's going to be celebrated by Cardinal Timothy Dolan, the Archbishop of New York, at St. Patrick's Cathedral. The days to be determined at this point, but it will be open to the public, that service. The burial will be private, and in lieu of flowers, the family's asking that donations be made to the Boys and Girls Club of Salem, Massachusetts.
Susie was such a, he was so joyful the last
2 decades of his life.
Yeah, 2 decades of his life because of Susie Welch as well. And we've got to figure out some way to reach out to her as well, personally. But Jack Welch, dead at the age of 84. Our thoughts do go out to Susie and the rest of the Welch family. Jack died at the age of 84.